Natara, I'm putting in C because Megan Fox did such a terrible job voice acting her character. Before I progress with this tier list. So somebody that you might put in C and D tier might be because you haven't labbed the character and you don't know exactly what the character does. So I think it's more or less a user ability list and who everyone's using. Because there are a lot of characters who probably we just don't know about yet because, I mean, the game is so immersive that not everybody's labbed it. But without any more tangents or detours, first up is Ashura. Now, I've seen a lot of this character. I've fought a lot of this character, and I've seen a lot of dirt. And when I mean dirt, I just mean things that the character does well that the rest of the cast might not be able to do. And so Ashura is going to easily go right here in S tier. She has a plus on block projectile that's really, really good. Her damage is really good. Her footsies are really good. And I think the cameo system comes into play with this tier list, but I believe the cameo system should be a separate tier list. But I think Ashura by herself as a character, very, very good, controls the space really well, has a lot of good strings that don't have gaps in them. And from what I've seen in tournaments, she's just been absolutely tearing the competition to pieces. So she's going to pop up right here in S tier, and I think that's where she's going to belong for a while. Next up is our friendly neighborhood friend, Baraka. What I can say is in the previous games, Baraka hasn't been a high tier character, which I think a lot of people are enjoying the fact that he is top tier this time. And he's probably one of the top 3 characters in the game. He has high damage output. He has incredible footsies. He has good moves, good buttons. And it just so happens that when coupled with a cameo by the name of Cyrax, he's essentially doing 50% damage every time he touches you. So in this game that we call fighting, if you make a mistake, if you do something that's punishable, you're going to lose 50% of your life. You only get 100%. So you're going to lose 50% of your life for making a mistake in this game. And not to mention, he does excellent chip damage when coupled with the cameo Cyrax. So once again, I think with this game being out, 2-3 weeks, Baraka is going to be S tier as well. Now, the same is apparent for this guy. Now, we all should know who that is. Johnny Cage. Mr. Hollywood star. He is, I think I can use this word, he's broken. Now, I know I'm kind of contradicting myself because I'm supposed to kind of stay away from those kind of terms because the game is fresh out. But even in the beta, this guy was absolutely ridiculous. He has everything that a character needs in this game to be good. Good plus frames, good buttons, high damage output, and you could essentially use him with cameos to extend combos and do, you essentially, when a character is really, really good, the way I like to describe it is you don't allow for your opponent to play the game. And so when I watch Johnny Cage, whether it be via tournament or just random sets that I run online when I run into people, you never get your turn back with Johnny. Johnny is incredible. And they kind of nerfed him. In the beta, some of his moves took 1 bar and extended combos. So what the devs did is they go, okay, well, this seems, like I said, kind of broke. So here, we'll make this move cost 2 bars of meter. Didn't change anything. He's still one of the best characters in the game. Johnny Cage. Now, Havoc. Havoc is a character I wanted to get my hands on early, but one of the stipulations of getting him was to beat the story mode. I didn't want to play the story mode. I wanted to get right into the characters and start labbing. So I'm going to move Havoc into B tier. Now, the reason I'm moving Havoc into B tier is because, one, I haven't seen many players use him. The players that I have seen use him, he's good. But with characters like Ashura, Baraka, and Johnny Cage, their game plan is so good that it's hard to see Havoc compete with these top characters' game plans. So right now, super early, I'm going to put Havoc in B tier only because We have yet to scratch the surface on his capabilities. I want to play him. I want to main him, actually. I want him to be one of my pocket characters. So for right now, I'll put him in B tier. He has good damage output, frame traps. He has a really good projectile, really good pressure. He has a command grab. Like, all those things are good, right? But the top 3 characters set such like a standard that I don't really think he's there. Kenshi would have been an S tier had I not read a tweet 2 days ago. Kenshi is going to be an A tier. The wonderful thing about Kenshi is he can summon his Sento, which is essentially his blade is, I believe, blessed. So he can contact spirits, whatever the lore is. I'm not too privy with the lore. I don't really know too much about it off the top of my head, but he summons a samurai that accompanies him in battle. So you essentially are fighting against 2 people at one time. It's absolutely nuts. It's crazy. I don't know who came up with the idea at NetherRealm, but I'd probably slap him in the face if I ever met him because it's stupid. But apparently I was reading Bam Bam Guitar, Pig of the Hut, if anybody's familiar with him. And he no longer wants to main the character. He's been a Kenshi devout main as long as he's competed in fighting games. So about 10 years plus. And he's dropping the character. Upon further review, when he went into the lab with the character and grinded, he found that there are a lot of gaps in his strings that you could armor through, making his pressure, quote unquote, not real. So with that, when he summons his Sento, you think you're kind of trapped in between him and his Sento. You think it's impossible to get out. Upon further review, it's not real. You can get out. So Kenshi's still A tier, still high damage output, can control the screen very well, and he does a lot of nice things. Kitana, D tier. Haven't seen anybody play her. I just think she's trash. Fight me. Simple. Like, I haven't seen anybody do anything with her. Obviously, that can change, and it probably will change. But right now, she's just trash. Who cares? All the Kitana lovers out there, I'm sorry. I just haven't seen her played at all. Not even at a competitive high level. So, bye, Kitana. Kung Lao. Broken. And the reason why Kung Lao is broken is he's a character. In this game, there's a thing called Oki. And that's when you knock your opponent down, like, what's for breakfast, right? Am I going to do this? Or I might do this. Kung Lao is the only character in the game, when coupled with a cameo, that he has a safe, launching, armored wake up. That's ridiculous. That's unheard of. That's stupid. Because fighting games are all about risk and reward. Like, hey, if I do this move, I know it's punishable, but what if I do it, my opponent doesn't react to it in time? Maybe I can open him up. Kung Lao has an armored, safe, launching wake up, which is just ridiculous. He has good buttons, good damage output, and when coupled with cameos, Kung Lao is a pretty good character. So most of these characters will probably end up in C, A, or D. There's really no in between for me. So let's move on. Li Mei will go into A tier. If there was a A+ tier, I'd put her there. Li Mei is kind of along the same lines. She has a really good projectile. She has a 7 frame, which, if you're familiar with fighting games, if not, frame data is very important. In this game, down ones are punishable on block to certain members of the cast. This young lady right here with her hands behind her back, she's one of them. She has a 7 frame wake up that punishes a down one on block. If you can react, which some people can't. If you're good, you can. If you're not, get good. But her 7 frame wake up essentially punishes the down one, and then the combo is extended using the Scorpion cameo, which is why I say cameos should probably have their own tier list. But let's just attach each character with the most popular cameo used with them. So Li Mei has some dirt. She's definitely moving towards S tier. I haven't seen her used in tournament like that, but I think she could potentially be top tier. Liu Kang, the fire god Liu Kang. I'm going to put him in B tier. I feel like he belongs in A tier. I fought a Liu Kang. I lost, I think, 11 games to him straight. I got my ass beat. I got my ass handed to me. Very underrated zoning, which when I refer to zoning, that just simply means throwing projectiles on screen. So if I want to play keep away, right? So like, for example, because I like to include you, Anthony. Let's say Anthony's a character in Mortal Kombat 1 and his projectile is throwing chairs, right? He's going to stand full screen and throw chairs at you. If you can't jump over that chair and you keep getting hit, you're essentially getting zoned out. That's what that means. So chair throwing Anthony wins. And essentially Liu Kang has the same game plan. I mean, he has really good buttons up close, but he has a low starting projectile and a mid projectile that are really, really good full screen. He's kind of earned the title early of zoner, but also has good buttons. So when you get in, it's not easy to go toe to toe with Liu Kang. So for now, Liu Kang will remain in B tier. Melina is 100% A tier. She is in the same realm as Baraka. She touches you, she's going to do about 44 to 45%. So if you get touched twice, you're practically dead. If we want to bring into account chip and throws, if she touches you twice, you're probably dead. And if a character can touch you twice in this game and kill you, which a lot of the cast can, they're going to probably be in S or A tier. Melina's very good buttons, very good strings. She has a mid overhead string that almost is unblockable. I mean, once you're conditioned enough, you'll be able to block it. But when this game came out, Melina seemed like a clear-cut top-tier character, and she still does. So once again, this is court's in session really early. The verdict isn't out yet on these characters, but Melina seems like she's going to be an A-tier character. Natara, I'm putting in C because Megan Fox did such a terrible job voice acting her character. She did really bad. And I love Megan Fox, but her voice acting is absolutely atrocious. And that's really where I'm going to leave it. I don't even want to delve into the character because I'm so disappointed. Raiden, S tier, super S tier, mega S tier. Raiden falls in the same category as Baraka. I mean, there are a lot of characters who can two-touch you and just kill you and erase you off the screen. Raiden is one of those characters that he can do it in a couple of different ways. Cyrax is the cameo that he has, where he has a move that chips you out. And so when I say chip, for those who don't know, if you get hit in a game and you're blocking, you still take damage. So essentially, Anthony, the character, if Anthony walks into a coffee shop, he says, "Hey, give me a coffee." The guy says, "Well, I don't want to." And he essentially wants to fight Anthony. If Anthony puts up his hands to block his attack, I mean, Anthony still gets hit. It still hurts. So he's still going to take some damage. Same principle applies. If you're blocking this game and you're taking damage, you're still going to get chipped. So Raiden has a move where essentially his move does chip damage. And then you call in the Cyrax cameo to do additional chip damage. So you're essentially taking like some crazy like 20% chip damage every time he starts that string, which is frequent. So the man is broken. I won't go too deep into it because we're still early in the game, but his damage output is high. His strings are good. We're finding out that he has more gaps in his strings and that you can kind of flawless block it. And what that means is that when you're flawless blocking a move, if you can catch a move in its startup frames, it starts an animation called a flawless block. So hopefully you're keeping up with me, Anthony. It's a lot. I understand, but I'm very excited and I love this game very much.
The chip damage thing seems OP, and I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. That seems OP.
Very, very broken. It's very broken. It's stupid. So he's definitely going to be an S+ tier. Rain, B tier. Rain's buttons are slow. He seems like a setup character, but he doesn't really have it all together yet. And he's still a good character by Mortal Kombat definitions, right? Which is fine. It's cool. But when you look at these top 5 characters, he doesn't touch them. And when you have this as the standard, this guy is going to kind of drop down as the game progresses, unless the game can get patched and they give him quote unquote dirt. My man, This is my man's right here. Me and him on the front lines. Okay? This is my dude. I done put so many hours in with this guy. He's going to be S tier just because I want him to be. Realistically, he's like here. But this is my tier list, so he's here. Reiko is a mix of fun. I have extensive knowledge about him because I play him so much. So obviously my analysis of him will be a little bit longer, but I'll try to keep it short. Reiko does a few things really well. He is very dependent on his cameo partner, which is Darius. I think that's the most effective cameo partner for him. I like to use the word cameo partner because it sounds better. But he has a very good down 4. He has the best projectile in the game. It's multi-hitting. So it hits like 2 or 3 times. Really good damage output when using his cameo character. And he's a high risk, high reward character, essentially. If you go for the command grab, your opponent can duck it or jump it, and it's a full combo punish. So if I'm using Reiko and I'm fighting Raiden, Johnny Cage, or Baraka, if they make the right read, and what that means is that if somebody can read you like a book, if it's like, oh man, if he does this, then he's going to follow up with this. So if my opponent can read that I'm going to do a command grab, because if I command grab you, you're probably going to die. If my opponent reads that I'm going to do command grab, they can jump it. And if you're, like I said, Raiden, Baraka, or Johnny Cage, you're doing 50% damage for every risk I take. So you have to play a little bit better in the neutral with characters like Reiko, which is why I like him. High risk, high reward. Absolutely brawler of a character. Gruesome fatalities. He was made for me, Anthony. He was made for me. I love him. Okay, he completes me. So he belongs in S tier. This one, him. He is him. He's not Reiko. He's Himothy Williams. Okay, he's he's a great character, man. I love him. He's great. I'm gonna main him probably for the game's life. I don't tend to switch mains. Next up is a character I wanted to play, but I fell in love with Reiko first. Garrus, high damaging character with a command grab. I love command grabs. Command grabs are my home. So if you have a command grab, I'm probably gonna look into you. It just so happens that all my time is now for Reiko. But he has a really good command grab, really good high damage output, a lot of setups, a lot of fun stuff. Garrus does what you want an MK1 character to do, which is high damage, call in my cameo for an assist, and essentially make it so my opponent cannot play the game. And he does that well. So A tier for him. Reptile up until this morning would have been C tier, but I got my ass whooped bad by a Reptile like 6 games to 1. So he's going to go here. Reptile seems like a setup character. I mean, he has a really good projectile in his force ball. It doesn't travel the full length of the screen, but he has really good buttons. He can go invisible, which we don't really know any positives of that move, because if you get hit, you get knocked out of your invisibility. But I think he's a pretty solid character with solid buttons and can do high damage. And I don't think any of the mains for him have even scratched the surface on what he can do. Scorpion, I don't like him. I think he's good too. I think he's great. Every game that's come out, I don't like Scorpion. So realistically, he belongs in like B tier, A tier. I think he has a really good projectile. I think his projectile, if it whiffs full screen, so if you duck it, it's a high. If you duck it, it's like a full combo punish from like full screen. So Scorpion's good. He has good damage, but I think the jury's still out on him. Shang's good. I really don't know too much about him to even have an intelligent conversation about what he can and can't do. I've seen a lot of fun combos with him. IGN actually got a hold of one of the combos featuring him, and it actually went viral. It's great. General Shao's trash. He has no mids. In this game, you need mids. And what I mean by that is that mids, you can't duck a mid, right? If you have a high, if your move is considered a high, I could dunk it and like uppercut your head off. He has no mids. No. Sindel is a B tier character. Really good combos, really good combo extensions, really good projectiles. I think she just works hard to do what these top 6 characters can do. And if you have to work hard to do it, then you're probably not as good as these characters. Smoked. Literally. Literally. He would have been here. He would have been, you know what? He'd have been up here. He'd have been up here the day the game came out.
Off the screen.
He'd have been
Would they nerf them
No.
to hell?
And I think it's evident with every single character on this tier list. People just went in the lab. People went in the lab and they found out, like, hey man, this string that seems absolutely menace to deal with actually has a gap in it. And most of his strings have gaps in them. So what I mean by gaps is that you can interrupt them. True pressure is everything in this game. You need strings that don't have gaps, because if I can interrupt it, there goes your pressure. There goes your game plan. There goes your move on the chessboard. So would have been here day one release, but upon further review, he's probably here. Sub-Zero belongs there too. Once again, he's bad. Fight me. He's bad. I think 2 days ago somebody did like a Cyrax combo with him for like 50% damage. That's awesome. That's cool. That's great. But like I said, if you're not one of these characters, it doesn't really matter what you're doing, because these characters do what they do at such a high level. Tanya does that. This one is only because of Dragon _FGC. He just played a tournament and he made top 8 and was in the grand finals and fought with this character. I ran into this character day 2 and I knew she was stupid. It's really the only way I can put it. She has a mid, her like Tonfa, her staff move is a mid. It's very, there's no gap in it. She has 2 armored wake ups she can use. They're very good. She has really good buttons. And she's just space control. Damage output's a little lower compared to the rest of these S tier peeps, but I think she belongs here. I think upon further review, she will stay here. So, with that being said, even though that was kind of quick, this is my tier list. I mean, the game hasn't been out 2 to 3 weeks. You know, like the jury's out on a lot of these characters. I mean, the jury's not out on, okay, so Ashrah, Baraka, Johnny Cage, Kung Lao, Raiden, Kenshi, Li Mei, Molina. These characters kind of like, we know what they can do. These, we don't know yet. We don't know. These are trash. We don't need to know. We do not need to know what they can do. It doesn't matter. You're never going to see a Katana win a major. Never. And I'm looking at this list from a competitive standpoint, so I think that's important. You're never going to see a Smoke win a tournament. Okay, for all of the fighting game fans, for those who are particularly playing MK1, I hope you enjoy my list. If not, the game has only been out for 2 or 3 weeks, so fight me.